Charu Pragya, national spokesperson of the BJP, is with us. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author and commentator, with us. Amna Begum Ansari, policy analyst, with us, and Tehseen Ponawalla, political analyst, with us. Namaste, Jai Hind to the ladies and the gentlemen on the panel. Thank you very, very much. Dr. Ranganathan, your first thoughts on this. Is this the right template? 192 pages, summary is doing the rounds. Have you had a chance to peruse it? Do you think this is the right template?
Good evening, Anand, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Look, a uniform civil code, or the UCC, I believe firmly, is not just a necessity for India. It's a prerequisite for India's unity. Anand, religious fanatics may have held to ransom a generation previous to ours through partition. They may have held to ransom our generation through Shah Bano. But we will not allow them to hold to ransom our future generations. We have to say no to religious fanatics. Enough is enough. There are broadly 4 issues here, and I'd like to delve into them briefly. Number 1, on the pretext of diversity, one cannot allow discrimination to flourish, and that is what has been happening. Just one example. Supreme Court, Anand, recently conferred Hindu daughters with equal rights to fathers' properties going back to 1947, saying, quote, Hindu texts recognize female rights, unquote. But in India, because of the verse 411, a Muslim daughter is entitled to only half of what a son is. Does this not bother our activists and those fighting for women's rights? Is this not discrimination? For how long will you make Muslim women suffer discrimination by shrouding them in this burqa of diversity? 2, there already is a uniform civil code applicable in Goa for decades. Goa has a minority population of 38%. Tell me, are the minorities in Goa suffering or being discriminated against because of the uniform civil code? On the contrary, they seem very happy to me. 3, the UCC is enshrined in our constitution under the directive principles. Dr. Ambedkar was an active proponent of it. He rejected amendments of exceptionality by Muslim legislators to Article 35, which is now 44, that asks for the UCC to be implemented. Quote, I personally do not understand why religion should be given this vast, expansive jurisdiction so as to cover the whole of life and to prevent the legislature from encroaching upon that field. After all, what are we having this liberty for? We are having this liberty in order to reform our social system, which is so full of inequities, discrimination and other things which conflict with our fundamental rights, unquote. Besides, the UCC has been ordered to be implemented on more than one occasion by courts, most famously in the Shah Bano case. Quote, a common civil code will help the cause of national integration by removing disparate loyalties to laws which have conflicting ideologies, unquote. Ambedkar ki nahi sunni, Supreme Court ki nahi sunni, Constitution ki nahi sunni, but Sharia ki sunni hai. And by the way, for bringing in social reforms and equality to Hindu society, the Congress gladly brought in the Hindu code bills, but covered away like a wet cat when it came to reforming Muslim society. I repeat, I am against any law or code that discriminates between gender, sex, caste, creed, religious denomination, communities or groups. 4, above everything, Anand, there is this pursuit of a law or a code that begets what I call universal good, that is just, equal and based on science. Only then can societies progress. We have seen this time and again. The abortion limit has been decided by science and it has changed over years. Was that not warranted? Infant vaccination, contraception, prohibited in many societies. Was that not warranted? Similarly, science tells us that marriage of a woman upon puberty, sanctioned in Islam, demanded by AMPLB and ratified by Indian code, irreversible physical and mental damage to the woman's body. Should we continue to cause damage in the name of diversity? You want to continue to marry Indian girl childs because your community has been doing so, while every other community in India has to follow the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act. Is that pro-woman? Finally, just 30 seconds, Anand. I think it is wrong that the tribal community has been exempted from the Uttarakhand UCC draft, because then by definition it is not uniform civil code. If you want to eradicate discrimination uniformly, polygamy, child marriage, inheritance, then how can you exempt one community? It makes a mockery of your concern about social evils. Additionally, exempting one community will give an excuse to other communities to continue with the discrimination. As I said, just 10 seconds, if the purpose of the UCC is to eradicate discrimination and unify us, then it has to be applied universally and uniformly.
Tehseen Ponawalla?
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Your thoughts? I'll speak less, you people speak more.
Oh, thank you.
So go ahead.
No, thank you so much. First of all, I completely agree that the UCC has nothing to do with Muslims. So when the word Sharia is used, or when the word, and I see a lot of Muslim MPs protest, I don't understand why they have to protest. I am for the UCC. Please bring in the UCC. Muslims, I don't know why they have to stand up and protest against the UCC. Perhaps because they want to help the BJP win election, be it OAC or be it the Samajwadi Party, Muslim MPs were standing up and creating this rift in society. But the fact of the matter remains this, that this is not the first time UCC has been brought into this country. Goa already has a UCC, as my worthy panelist Dr. Anand Ranganathan said it. And in Goa and the UCC, a Hindu male above the age of 30 can remarry if he does not have a male child. And Pramod Sawantji, the current Chief Minister of Goa, speaking to CNN News 18, said there is no need to change that law in Goa. This is not the UCC, this is the Uttarakhand Civil Code. And an entire population, the tribals, has been kept out. Even the UCC that they are dreaming to bring in on the national level for India, they want to make an exception for tribals. Then how is it the UCC? It's the Uttarakhand Civil Code. Point number 2, quoting Anand, he said, most changes happen and should happen based on science, and I completely agree with him. Anand, as you know, both the Anands, Charu and Amna, being in a same-sex relationship has been sanctioned by the Honorable Supreme Court. Why has that been discriminated in the live-in relationships? I absolutely don't understand. Why should they not be registered? Now, let's come to the third part. In the state of Gujarat, from where the Honorable Prime Minister and Home Minister hail, there is something called Maitri Karar, where a man can have a girlfriend officially, despite having a wife, on record. Why is this not going to be eliminated? Come back to the state of Uttarakhand. We now have the government in our bedrooms, on our bed, to register live-in marriages. Not only is this dangerous, this is absolutely undemocratic. I'm sure the courts will strike it down. But for a government to even comprehend something like this makes you shudder to think at what level does this government go. Now you're going to have relationships that need government sanction. What if somebody is in a casual relationship? What if somebody is just in a sexual relationship but not in a live-in relationship? What if somebody is in a live-in relationship but not in a sexual relationship? What if the woman is in a polygamous relationship? What if the woman has multiple partners and does not want to settle down with one partner? Who is the government to get into people's bed? What if somebody is in a situationship and not in a relationship? For the government to come down and to get into people's beds, I think is horrendous. For this to even be considered by the BJP is scary. The only other there is no democratic country that I know about it, but the only other country that I know allows it is Saudi Arabia and Iran, that has such kind of moral policing. We are fast heading down that spiral. Well, we are heading down the way of Saudi Arabia and Iran, and that I think is extremely dangerous, where you have moral police force.